So this is about working in fintech from a Gen Z perspective, but I'm a millennial, so it's going to be from my perspective as well. And mostly to start, will be get to know each other. So please give a round of intro. Where are you currently working at? How did you get into fintech? And why did you even want to join it? I'll start with myself. So I work at Payable, and I'm a product marketing manager there. And I wanted to join fintech. I mean, during COVID, so not the best time to switch careers, and Brexit as well. And for me, it was mostly making sure how to tell a story. And I did a hackathon as well with the FCA and be able to tell why I wanted to join fintech at that time and make a career switch. So you guys are here and you're doing the same thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. So I'm Emi, as you can see, and I work at ICAP. Currently, I'm a product owner there. So I'm a product owner for one of the trading platforms there, Fusion, our ultimate trading platform. And I've been there for about 2 years now. So first job, but it's really exciting. And I think I studied physics, so quite a different, a different degree to what I'm doing now. But a lot of the skills that I've gained have been really transferable. So as you can imagine, it's the usual interview question, and you talk about problem solving, of course, being like the core aspect of it. But actually, a lot of it comes with also communication. So I did physics at UCL, and after that, applied to technology, financial services, consulting, and then actually applied to all these internships. So that's how I started at TPICAP as an intern, and then after that got a full-time job offer from that, and started as a business analyst, and now product owner for one of the teams. So yeah, that is me.
Cool. Thanks, Emi. Morning, everyone. I'm Jag. So I currently work at ipushpull with Matt. I'm a solutions engineer. So I sit in between a lot of different areas, between, say, product, dev, and sales. It's quite a customer-facing role compared to my first position, which was as a ML engineer a couple of years ago. Be about myself, working class background from the Midlands. Parents emigrated here in the 90s. I did also physics, so you've got two physicists up here. So the initial sort of goal was to go into banking. I did an internship at a tier 1 bank in 2021. Long story short, didn't really think it was suited to myself. Then did sort of data analysis in my master's year, learn about ML, data science, and that sort of ignited my passion for sort of fintech. So,
Thanks, Jag. And I'm Chloe. I'm the only person on this panel who hasn't started her job, so I don't have as much to say about fintech, but I can tell you about my journey getting to where I will be in September. So I've just graduated, and I think I maybe started looking into fintech when I reached out to events happening in London, asking for free tickets as a student, not being able to pay £500+ for an event. And I was able to get free tickets. And as someone who didn't know much about finance or fintech at the time, the best thing for me to do really was to go around and speak to all the stalls, or as many as possible, to try and understand what people did. And I did that very honestly. I said I was a student and didn't know anything about the industry, and I just wanted to learn. And that's how I came across Ion Group. And through that, I saw them at various other events after. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I even heard about them. I don't think I knew about them before speaking to them at a stall at an event. So that's also how I met Matt. And from there, I asked Matt for a ticket to another event. He asked me to come on stage with him and do a fireside chat, and then asked me to help out with work in fintech. So I'm a helper of this event, and a soon starting graduate scheme in fintech. So maybe to start off, considering I don't have much experience in the industry yet, could you maybe tell us a bit about what the day-to-day life is like for you in your jobs, and the skills that you need, the skills you think you use every day that are crucial to people who would be interested in trying to join the sector.
Yeah. So shall I start out?
Yes.
All right. So in my day-to-day as a product owner, what I do is, although I used to code as part of my degree in physics, nowadays it's more about the product, about what we're trying to develop, which is the trading platform. So ultimately, I'd be communicating with the stakeholders. So I'd be communicating with product management, and I'd also be communicating with other members of the business to understand exactly what they want and why. The really important aspect is understanding why a user would want to build something a certain way. Or, I mean, it can be as simple as, what color something needs to be, but it's not just that. It's also then thinking about how the whole, things like matching engines, how are we going to match a certain number of orders in a certain way, or implementing that logic as well. And it's just about designing parts of the platform and features. So I will communicate the features and what needs to be delivered to the team, and then work with the business analyst as well, to then dive into all those requirements, and it's really working with developers, but also working with the business. So it's being that intermediary between the two. And the critical skill, I will say, obviously problem solving, incredibly important. You need to be able to figure out how to achieve something and how that's going to work. But another super important element is communication. So I think communication is or poor communication is always the cause of most problems, or if not all, I will say, in society, in the industry, in the job, and it's something that you learn about every day. You practice it every day, and you will always experience challenges in that. But you learn every day how, and you might have successes as well. That's what drives the progress as well. So I'd say the core skills are communication and problem solving, and in my day-to-day, that is what I'm doing. And on the side, I like to get involved in a lot of AI side hustles. So that's also partially why I'm here today. But it is, trying to implement some AI projects. I rolled out a Gen AI course earlier this year. That's just firm-wide to introduce it to people at the firm or any employee at the firm really, who, regardless of their level of experience, can then gain that first exposure to it. Because I know it's scary for some people, like the brokers might not even understand really concepts of AI, or just whoever. It's for everyone. And I think something very important is just upskilling yourself. So that's a quick intro to me. But
Great. Thanks for sharing. I think I'll go next because your role is product owner and I'm a product marketer. So it's very similar in terms of what we're doing. So I liaise with product managers, as you do, who liaise to developers. But for me, I'm sitting between sales, product, and marketing. So I make sure that everyone is aligned into where are we going, who are we going to be selling it to, what does the product mean to the everyday user, and making sure that we're the voice of the consumer at the end of the day. So that involves a lot of listening, talking to multiple stakeholders on a day-to-day basis, ensuring that our roadmap is aligned, ensuring that we have the key aspects that we want to sell and where we're going to be selling them. With that, it's also about storytelling, making sure that we are telling it properly. What does the product even mean? So a lot of, even though it's not a technical role, I do have to speak to a lot of technical people and speak their language. So understand what they're saying. Listening is a key aspect to it, as you mentioned, communication, and how, I think it's a different role that perhaps you're not as known between like technical and non-technical, right? So product marketing is something that's up and coming as well.
Cool. Typical day as a solutions engineer would be to build demos, do a lot of configuration, do a lot of storytelling, like Natalie said. And it's like, I think a good way to describe it would be like technical translation. So translating sort of technical complex concepts into sort of things that make sense for people that are less technical. And I think that's a skill that's also very important. I think curiosity, adaptability, and being able to translate those concepts into business logic, is super important. So cool.
Lovely. Thanks, Natalie.
Nice. So I'll move more into what are the biggest misconception you'd have working in fintech before landing your first role for your Chloe?
Misconceptions I had before working in fintech. Well, one of them was actually before interning. To be honest, I had no idea what I was going into, but I just thought, first of all, I think TP ICAP were one of the first internships to come back to me, and I saw the website and I thought, this looks cool. It looks like tech and financial services. Why not try it out? So I just, to be fair, I think 50% of that was just a quick kind of decision to say yes to the internship. But I thought, it's just an internship in tech. Didn't know what to expect, didn't know what role, didn't know much about it. And coming from a physics background, I expected to be coding all day and that everyone was just shunted in a corner. We're all siloed and just like in silence coding all day. It turns out to be the opposite, that I spent a lot of time presenting, talking, refining requirements, going back and forth between stakeholders and technical people and understanding systems. And so the biggest misconception for me was that everyone just codes all day. Absolutely not. There will be, obviously, software engineers will be coding a lot of the time, but even software engineers will be talking to the team, communicating to solve a problem, talking to the product people to understand the requirements better. That's my biggest misconception, I think. Everything these days seems to be fintech, or it seems to be tech rather. So I'd say there is communication at all levels.
Misconceptions. I think the amount of legacy software still out there is definitely was a misconception. I think definitely working with sort of financial institutions, there's a lot of say a backlog, and it's hard sometimes to get processes up and running. It's hard to implement systems. It takes a lot of time. It's sometimes, definitely easier said than done. Another misconception probably would be the amount of technical knowledge that you might need for a fintech as well. You can kind of fake it till you make it in a way. But I think instead of it just being 100% technical, I would say that it's 50-50 in terms of technical and communication. So I think communication has been quite a strong sort of theme here. I'd love to emphasize that even more. So,
Yeah, I would agree in terms of what you said. Majority, when I first started, I believed everyone has already had 5+ years of fintech experience, but when you get there, truly they don't. And it's just their first role, and they're also just starting to understand what it even means, what are the different markets, how do you do payments, for example. But yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception from my side. I thought I couldn't get in because I didn't have the background, but you can. With that, I wanted to go into more, being the youngest in the room and how do you build your credibility. So what are some practical ways that has helped you guys build that in the room?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I always try to seek to help others, because if you are helping others, you're helping the company, it's a two-way street. You then expect to build a relationship, build a rapport with people, and know that you can be trusted. And if you help others by either delivering something or going out of your way, going the extra mile, then I think that is ultimately what creates innovation as well, or unexpected relationships. And I'd say to stand out, it's going the extra mile and really showing up. So I think showing up has been a theme today as well. Just showing up today. You've all taken a step in that direction. So congrats for that, and for being here, for making it here. I think.
Credibility. Still trying. Credibility. Taking workload off your managers is definitely one. There's no such thing as a dumb question, as Paul said. Staying on the rocket ship, as Christian said. Just trying to innovate, do as much as you can every single day, ask as many questions as you can, and become proficient in what you do. is the best way. You don't need to know everything when you first start, but the more that you integrate yourself with the company and with the tech, is definitely going to stand you in good stead.
I would say get into projects at work that have the biggest visibility across the business. And that's what's going to give you that credibility and visibility, and be able to show up and say, I achieved XYZ in a meeting, and present it yourself, because that's what you delivered. Next would be more about what would you do differently if you were applying for fintech roles now?
Do you want to start this one?
What would I do differently? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think for me, it would be, if I could, I would have attended events like these. So really, really grateful to Matt for having us on this panel, because I think if I had done this before starting, actually I would have grown my network, I would have had more familiarity with what I was going into, maybe even had a broader sense of what the industry really is earlier on. But having said that, I think, I can't change the past, obviously. However, going forwards, I think it's always important, no matter what stage you are in your career, it's important to keep learning, keep being curious. I think Paul has also mentioned that being curious and asking questions is such a key. So, I think that's what I would have done.
Take more risks, I guess. Everyone's at the age here where you can afford to make mistakes. You can afford to do things that don't work out. Taking risks is kind of the name of the game in fintech. So, that's probably one thing that I would have done. Taken more risks and not settled for stuff.
And just to add on to that, I think we, as graduates or people who are looking for jobs, you're not necessarily told that applying can be really demoralizing, but it is. And I was speaking to a fintech recruiter recently who says that the way that recruitment works is completely wrong. And I think it's something I would really like to tell people, is that there are other ways of getting a job than having to send out hundreds of applications over and over again. And there are simpler ways, by being here today, speaking to people, interacting, trying to ask as many questions as possible and get to understand the industry and show that this is something that you would really like to be a part of. That's, in my opinion, an easier way and a nicer way of trying to get into the industry, as opposed to filling out hundreds of applications from behind a computer screen, competing with loads of other people who are wanting a job just as much. That, I think, face-to-face contact, that communication, as we said, makes a massive difference. And I think that's something you can really lean into and hopefully avoid the horrible application process.
Great, thank you for sharing. Do we have time for questions?
Matt?
Yeah.
How long do we have?
Yeah, we've got time.
Got a question. So I brought an article that like this: the Gen Z is basically the mass adopters of AI business. And I was wondering, do you feel there are high expectations towards you? They're like, you get this adopters, and how you use this as a like.
Great. So do you feel like you should be known and have an experience with AI, and what are some practical ways you're using this?
Yeah, well, I suppose that the question about expectation, people expect, I would say they are impressed when you do manage to keep abreast of any new technologies, and the expectation is more about how you do your job, and if you can leverage AI to do that, then great. It doesn't matter what you use necessarily, but really how you deliver and how you show up and how you do your job, that matters the most. So for me, of course, I'm someone who's just very curious about AI. So I have gone above and beyond, and as I mentioned, created this firm-wide course that I rolled out earlier this year. But then also things like trying to get involved in AI projects, and I had a hackathon with AWS last year, and then that's now being promoted into production, and so that's really exciting that we have some real AI use cases that we're building. In terms of the the expectation. I think it's not like I feel the pressure of doing so, but it's more like it should come from within you, within your curiosity and within your interest, just to actually develop something that you're passionate about and that you think will help the company, will help others, and can scale out across the business. So I don't think too much about the expectations. I think try to produce an outcome that I think will be great. So
I would say technical literacy is important. Knowing how to translate that technical literacy is even more important. So it's good to know your stuff. Like, you should know your stuff, but how that translates into outcomes for a business and how you can translate it into an outcome for a stakeholder, I would say is even more important, because that is what gets stuff done at the end of the day. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't translate it into if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, is the phrase, I think, then I wouldn't say it's pointless, but the key is being able to actually implement it and use it in a correct way. So
great.
You guys mentioned a few things there, a few things. The translate word, Jag, you used a number of times, and you mentioned storytelling is really important. I think for young people here, sometimes the word tech frightens them in terms of coming into fintech. I'm not technical. How can I go into that world? Talk more about the translating bit, because actually taking in business requirement, translating that into technical requirement is like the very best product engineers are completely bilingual, in my opinion, between those two. I think for that whole storytelling, I think you should share a little bit more about that, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything. I think humans are driven by storytelling, and that's how they absorb information the best as well. So when you are presenting something very technical or whatever it might be, or if it's whatever you're presenting, you always have to make sure it's tailored to the audience. So if I'm presenting to a product manager or a business, like a senior managing director or somebody, then I have to make sure that I can really find out what they're looking for. And that's how you tell a good story. It's finding out the information that they want to hear that is obviously true to what you are doing. And to technical people, you want to translate what the business wants. So to be the intermediary, translate what the business wants, but into more tech speak. So again, about being literate in both. I think that is really important. Some of it you do learn on the job. You're not expected to know all the systems when you land on day one. I definitely didn't know anything really about TP ICAP systems apart from the fact that they had this platform called Fusion, which I now work for. But there are so many complexities that you learn only from experience. So the storytelling comes from experience and from interaction. It's practice as well. So it's not like everything you pitch is going to be successful, but it is having the courage to communicate in the first place as well. I think that is important. And speak when you are given the chance to, because you're in that room for a reason. So if you have something to say or if you have a question, don't hold back. I think that is my advice.
I think storytelling is innate to human nature. People remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what they said. So acronyms, people, they probably can't really explain what they are. But if you phrase them in a way with an analogy, they might end up remembering what you actually said and how you made them feel. So, I would say focus on soft skills as much as the technical literacy, because the soft skills is something that you can control more so than the knowledge of a company's systems, because you can always pick up how something works, really. But whether you can speak to people, whether you can make them smile, whether you can actually make them remember you is a different skill in itself. So
And just a note, Paul, on what you said about how the word tech is scary. I think one of the first times I met Matt, he said that really people are scared of tech. Young people are scared of tech because the general idea is that there are a lot of older people in tech, and it's not, the barriers to entry are quite high for young people. But something he always says is that you do not need to code to be in this industry. So I think the word can be scary and the terms can be scary, but once you regress that and once you remember, like Jag said, that it's more about soft skills, having those soft skills and learning the hard skills along the way, I think that's really important to note, because it takes a bit of that complexity and that fear about the industry away.
Great. Should we do one more question?
I wanted to ask, when did you first learn about fintech, sort of the industry, and sort of what led you to try and break the space over, say, like traditional routes in finance, that banking, other operatives?
Cool. Learned about fintech at university, I'd say, probably during my degree. The idea for me personally was to go into banking, sales and trading, probably investment banking. But I just didn't like the slow pace of the internship that I had at the bank. So I preferred to be in a fast environment, to be on Christian's rocket ship, always sort of innovating, and sort of no 2 days are the same in a fintech. And so I did a scientific data analysis module in my master's year, learned sort of basic ML, and just, thought it was really, really good, and still enjoy it to this day.
Great. Thank you. I know you had one question, so I want to give you the...
Thank you so much. And it was to both of your guys' points. Telling stories. I love that you started with that. But I think the point that may be missed is the fact that you listen more. And I think just for people in the room, what are you using to listen, and what are you using to really inform yourselves and really start those conversations? Because something gets you curious of what you listen to. So I love that soft skill of being able to listen, being able to tell the story. But where do you get your content or things that you're reading at the moment that could help people in the room to also plug in and be able to ask those questions and tell stories? What's there in those rooms?
Great. Thank you for your question. Mostly know your product. That's the main thing. You're in the company. You've made it there. What does the product do? Who is it selling for? You need to know it in and out. If not, you're not going to be able to have those conversations or even know what questions to ask. So that's key. And a lot of people don't ignore it, right? So with that, also reading about it, what does the role do you want to do? What does that role entail? Are you reading books on it? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you taking courses? That's all part of the role.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think, obviously, to your point of knowing your field, that's the number one. But then beyond that, to look beyond that, you've obviously keeping in touch with the news and reading about your companies, understanding why they've made certain decisions, and it's also speaking to people that I get my information. So in my day to day, by speaking to networking, obviously, and at networking events, I've learned so much just today and this morning, in a few hours as well. But then it's finding what interests you and what can also grow or what can help grow what you're doing. And that is, I think, in terms of recommendations for what you should be reading or doing, then I think there are always a bunch of free courses like the ones mentioned earlier by Narinda as well, Google courses or AWS certifications or whatever it might be. So you can upskill yourself that way, but also just having the conversations.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we're out of time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.